Hi guys, Mel the Train Tutor here again with another Back to Basics video for you. And in this Back to Basics video, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at how to engrave foam. Okay, and specifically, extruded polystyrene. You can't really engrave the expanded stuff. Now, this comes off the back of my Broken Spirit build, and I did some foam engraving on that with some walls for the roundhouse and some standalone walls. Here are the pictures. So what I'm hoping to do is take you through the techniques that I use to actually do that and show you a few others. Okay, now I've included this as a back to basics video because this is sort of common to everything. It's just a technique we can use and it's been around for donkey's ages. Yeah, and it's actually relatively simple. It's just time consuming. So what do you need? Well, straight off you need extruded polystyrene. Okay, this is the pink and blue stuff. Okay, basically because it's solid. Yeah, it's not lots of little white bubbles. You're going to need some sandpaper, yeah, and the reason for this is that when you cut this stuff with a hot tool, it creates like a hard layer. And when you try and engrave into that hard layer, you can crack it and leave jaggedy edges. So it's always best just to give it a quick sand, so you're working on just the foam and not not sort of the plasticized. You want the sort of like plastic coating, but you get what I mean. Okay, next sort of tools is I generally use, a pencil, a pen. Yeah, obviously you need some sort of hobby knife and a rock. Yeah, now the rock I sort of use for this, it's got quite a lot of very sharp ridges and you'll see where they come in a little while. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of work on one side of a wall and give you the impression of a wall. I'm not going to do the other side for time. Yeah, but I'll show you the techniques that I use and then you can take it from there. Yeah, and you can use it on whatever you want. So, very first thing I'm going to do is using my pencil, okay, I'm going to cut out a rough shape for the wall, okay. I'm just trying to make sure I'm square on the video, so there. So what I'm going to do is come along here and, yeah, just roughly, yeah, do a rough shape. Yeah, now next job is to cut that out with a hobby knife. Okay, so there we have it. Or should I show you? There we have it, okay? And it's just rough, sort of like a wall shape, a broken wall, yeah? Now I'm going to start to actually, to actually do the engraving part, okay? And obviously it's going to be a sort of a random wall sort of collection of stone blocks. Now you could do it layered bricks as I did with the roundhouse. There's no reason why not, okay? This is just showing you how I do my sort of random block method. Now, a few things I need to define. I need to define where the rocks are going to go sort of round the corners, so to speak. I really should have beveled those edges. Yeah, because I like to define those points first, simply because they're the ones that go round edges. Okay, now to get a random rock sort of formation on it, yeah, what I like to do is I like to draw random rocks, and as I press down with my pencil, you'll see that it's actually sort of pressing in. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, so I draw some random rocks and then I start to fill in the gaps and join them up with other ones. And by putting these random rocks in first, make sure you can see that. Yeah. By putting the random rocks in first, I sort of force myself to break up the pattern. So what I'm going to do now is just simply, using my pencil, yeah, is simply just push in and draw on these rocks and make the indents for where the gaps are going to go. And there you have it. That's all my sort of rock patterns drawn onto the piece, okay? And as you see, as I've been pressing down, I've made little indents, so I'm very quickly going to go over these. and just push them down a bit further. And because I'm using what you call a pencil, it's quite a broad nib, if you know what I mean. So I get quite a good bevel. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to sort of make sure that these rock edges aren't sort of sharp. If I'd gone in with the pen first, yeah, they'd be very sharp, okay? And what I actually want is, with them being rocks, I want them to be, what you call it, sort of more beveled and smooth around the edges. And as you can see, yeah, it's really starting to take shape now. Okay, and you'll also notice I've put a couple of new lines across the top. Okay, and that's our basic, that's the basics of engraving foam. So if you want to do like a little symbol, you know, all you need to do is use a pencil. So what was the immortal one? Yeah, down like that. And it literally is just drawing it on and pressing it down and using the nib, you know. So you can draw symbols on dead quickly, okay? But this is the rock pattern. So once we've actually got our basic sort of rough shape of the rocks, okay, it's still very flat. And this is perfectly fine. You can just whack some textured paint on there and go from there. But what I like to do is sort of make it look more rocky. Now, for this, I use a rock. Okay, and I'm going to use these sharp edges, okay, and just press in first off on these edges. Yeah, so as you can see, it's starting to look more realistic. And then on these edges, yeah, and then I'm just going to go along the top and just sort of create the gaps between the rocks. So as you can see, after pressing it in, what you call it, it's gone a lot more sort of realistic. Now they're all flat against each other, so what happens if you want a rock that's sort of recessed? Well, the problem is you can't sort of push it straight down because it's like a pillow. Okay, if you push a pillow at one side, it drags in the center, it drags the other sides down. So what you need to do is sort of separate them. Yeah, and if you want to sort of recess a rock or a brick or anything like that, then what you need to do is separate it from the ones around it. So let's pick a good one. Let's pick that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, with my hobby knife, just a blade, I'm just going to go round it. Yeah, and I've got to make sure that it's a complete cut. i.e. it's still not attached anywhere around it. I only have to go in a couple of millimeters because I only want it to sink a couple of millimeters. Yeah, but now it's been separated. If I use this end of the pencil, I can come in, this may be a bit big, but I can sort of recess that down. Yeah. Do you see how it's recessed now? And so if I was to do this on a few of them, yeah, I'll do that quickly. And there you go, a couple of recessed rocks in there for you. Okay, and it literally is simply a matter of separating them from the rocks around themselves and just pressing them down. Okay, you could cut a layer off if you wanted to. I don't really see the point. Now, okay, so where we're at. Well, that's basic engraving, yeah? That's showing you how to use a pencil and how to separate and push down various blocks to create a realistic pattern, and how to use a rock to get proper angles in. And what I mean by is a pencil will leave you very sharp lines. Because the rocks are more like a wedge, yeah, they part the foam and give it a sort of more natural sort of join to them, yeah? And it's a really easy technique, and you will find yourself coming back and playing with this. Now, obviously, yeah, this is quite flat, and as I said before, that's perfectly fine. You can throw some texture paint on, but if you want to make it look more realistic, then you can actually impress a stone texture on that. So what we're going to do is come back with our rock again, yeah, and I'm going to use a bit which is particularly flat. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep tapping and stabbing it. And as I stab it, what it'll do is it'll flatten these out and the recesses will start to disappear. Okay, because these ones are far deeper, but it will give it that stone texture. So there's it all textured up. Okay, and it's a lot better. Every little brick's got a little bit of, every little rock's got a little bit of rock texture on it. But we've flattened them all out because we've pressed them down. So essentially we've engraved the whole piece with compression. Yeah, which means what we need to do is redefine our sort of gaps. And in this situation, I'm using a ballpoint pen. One, because it's sharper, so it's going to give me those really clean, crisp, defined lines. And two, as I go, yeah, I'll be able to put pen marks on it and see where I've gone. So if I start off here, I'm just literally just redrawing and re-pushing those bits in. Yeah. And there we go. It's back to its sort of original depth, and it's got the cracks in, etc. You can see our various recessed rocks. Yeah, all the rocks have got a nice smooth texture now. And the only thing that's sort of remaining to sort of the last sort of step with this bit to make it look more realistic is obviously there's going to be points where the gaps are quite large. Okay, where naturally you would have hollows, you know, there would be cracks, etc. So all I do is I get my pen, and I come in, and in those sort of areas, I just push them in, yeah, to make those natural sort of cracks. So let's look for a few of them. There'd be one there, I reckon. And there you have it, guys. Okay, really simple techniques. Now, these are basically the techniques I used to do those walls that I showed you at the start. Okay, that's basically how to engrave extruded polystyrene, and it's not hard at all. Yeah. It's just, you've just got to know the techniques, understand that, you know, if you're going to texture it down with rock, then you're going to have to redefine the lines. Understand that, you know, if you're using a pencil or something with a smooth tip, you'll get quite broad engravings where, you know, a pen will give you very sharp engravings, which is great for putting logos and icons and that sort of thing in, whereas a pencil will give you much broader sort of engravings. Yeah, which is great for brickwork. What you do with this and where you take it, it's, you know, it's applicable in any genre. Okay, it's one of those techniques that produces really great effects. Yeah, it just takes time. Now, this was a quick rush through. Hope you found it interesting, guys. As always, if you've got any questions, yeah, throw them in the comments. If you've got any experience or you think I've missed anything or you've got any tips to throw my way, always looking to learn, throw them in the comments, guys. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, then if you like terrain tutorials, you know, click the subscribe button, guys. You know, that's what it's there for. And then finally, yeah, if you have liked this tutorial, guys, yeah, click a like. I hope you know, you found it useful. And in the meantime, I've got a load more tutorials coming, so I better get cracked on with those. So listen, you have a great one, guys. Catch you in the comments. All the best. Ta-da.